Hey everybody, I'm David Carger here at the IMDb studio in Toronto, presented by Intuit QuickBooks, and I'm very happy to be joined by the lead actor and director of one of my favorite movies of the year, Sound of Metal, Darius Marder and Riz Ahmed. Great to see you guys. Thanks for being here. Darius, this is such a fascinating idea for a film, a heavy metal drummer who quite suddenly loses his hearing. What made you want to pursue this as a film?
Well, it actually goes back a long time. I mean, it started about 10 years ago, and I was working with a dear friend of mine on a kind of a hybrid doc with a band called Jucifer, and they're a couple that play stupid loud music. And we had this idea to kind of, it formed out of a real band and a real kind of codependent relationship, and then took it. I just wanted it ever since I saw that band, and I wanted to kind of explore this idea of a relationship in this context, and to tell a story of sound in 3 acts. So it really began as this real thing with a real band, and kind of went from there.
And Riz, in your performance, we as the audience really get to feel what it might be like to be going through something as frightening and traumatic as this. What was it like for you to imagine what this experience would be like for somebody?
Well, I mean, I guess I should say it's impossible for me to ever fully put myself in those shoes. But I guess you know, anytime you play a character, you try and draw on episodes in your own life where you feel like the rug's been pulled out from under you. And there was obviously, you know, a lot of kind of going within. And so there was a kind of inward journey, I think, that was new for me, really, I think, as an actor. Often I've been asked to kind of step into characters that I craft almost as though they're kind of masks, you know, do lots of kind of externally facing research. But I think with something like this, yes, there was a research element, but it's just such an intense experience to go through. I had to kind of like go within and, yeah, just look in some pretty dark corners. But as I said, yeah, there was a research side to it as well, in the deaf community, particularly in New York. And Jeremy Stone, my American Sign Language instructor, was really absolutely central in helping me to understand, you know, begin to understand the experience of someone who might be losing their hearing, and welcoming me into the deaf community, because this community, is one that we don't often see. And I think something that we're really proud of in this film is presenting deafness as a culture and as a community, and not as a disability. And that's certainly part of Ruben's journey.
And what really struck me about the character Ruben that Riz plays, Darius, is how quickly the hearing loss manifests itself. Is that something that often happens, where it's not this gradual thing, but it's pretty sudden?
There's a precedent for it, absolutely. They actually have a name for it, which is sudden. It's there's a name, and it happens, and oftentimes. And I talked to a number of people who had this spontaneous moment of hearing loss, and they're usually musicians. It's a little bit amorphous in the movie, and there's a whole scientific background, and we could have really geeked out, and as a matter of fact in the script we do, but we leave it a little bit of a mystery as to exactly how it happened. In other words, was it this, or was it that, or was it that one concert? You don't ever really know, but there is a precedent for it. It does happen.
Riz, we do see you, particularly in the beginning of the film, drumming. It's quite convincing. You're no stranger to the music world, but did you have much of a drumming background, and how did you know that you were prepared enough to do it on camera?
I really did not know if I was prepared enough, really. It was very much a leap of faith, and it was, you know, Darius's leadership and his creation of a safe space for us to all try and fail, and to just lean into that allowed us all to take risks. And drumming for me on camera was absolutely a risk. It was a risk we kind of prepared for intensively. So I learned to play the drums over a 6-month period, every day, with my drum teacher, Guy Licata, whose patience is like, yeah, on another level. And we did that at the same time as I was kind of learning sign language with Jeremy. So it was a really, really intensive preparation period. I think it was like 7 months of intensive daily prep, and then a 4-week shoot. So almost more like doing a play in that sense, where you're really, really, learning these skills and kind of trying to refine this craft. And then in the end, it is very much about just jumping. So most of what you see in the film is kind of first or second take. It was very rare that we were able to go past the second take.
He likes to say that, and it's you always say it was 2 takes.
He didn't give me enough takes. That's the beef, okay? I just wanted a third take,
I'm not going to let publicly that didn't happen.
A third take.
13 or 14
with this guy, okay?
takes.
This guy gives you like 2 takes, move on.
We're not letting
ridiculous.
that. We're not
You
letting
kind
that
of
happen.
don't need extra
Look,
takes from
I mean,
the version of the film that I saw, I'm telling you.
Definitely just tons of takes. And,
we shot for 7 months.
we shot for 7 months. Money was no
is.
object. We did shoot on 35, so we had to, it was film. It was film. We couldn't just shoot, man.
That's what it was.
But you know what? I was with Riz the first day you held drumsticks, and the crazy thing with drumming is it takes a while before your right and left brain kind of click, you have to put the time in. You can't fake it. And in that sense, and what we did with the music is I always said, look, we're playing it live. We're not playing this part and that part and mixing it and making you look good. We're not doing cutaways. We're not doing stand-ins. You're playing it live and at a club in front of an audience. And so that's what's up. And it's only going to be as good as you get. And this guy, working with I don't think that many actors do this. Take things on like
with
this.
you.
After this interview.
Yeah, exactly.
2-take
Wouldn't
martyr.
recommend it, guys. Would not recommend it.
I'm gonna let that go. Not that many people take something on like Riz did, and it is brave. It was incredible to watch it because you have to suck and suck and suck and suck and deal with that and be in that place where you're just failing and failing and failing. You have to be there for a long time, and then it clicks.
One day I'll get out of that place. One day I will. Yeah.
Not to be too kind of film dork here, but the sound design of this film is fascinating. You really take us inside Riz's character's head. And it must have been really interesting to work with your sound mixers and sound designers on this film.
It was a really unusual process, actually, because I found this amazing sound guru guy in France who's worked on everything you love, and he's really a sound genius, Nicolas Becker. And he and I met, before I even met my cinematographer, he and I met in France and spent lots of time talking about how sound and picture come together. And then we had a little powwow before we started shooting with my cinematographer, Danielle, and we all talked about sound and picture. How do they coexist? How do they relate? Which was really unusual to talk about sound before you begin. And we spent a long time. Nicola likes to talk, and so we spent a long time talking about sound. And then we had a very amazing post-process where we went to Mexico and went basically in this incredible place, that Carlos Regales' compound there. He has this amazing sound place. So we kind of had this sound, locked ourselves away for 7 weeks and just did sound, had this very meditative, intense process of sound.
And it was actually, on set, I remember, a lot of the time when you finish filming a scene, people say, okay, let's do a wild track. And you're not filming visually, but you're recording sound, and they'll ask you to repeat lines. The wild tracks on this movie were like, okay, stop, okay, now, can we just get you swallowing? I was like, what? And say, okay, just don't breathe for a second. Have you got his stomach rumbling? Yeah, we got his stomach rumbling. So, something that accompanies often hearing loss, from my understanding, from the people we spoke to, is that you become much more aware of your internal soundscape, of chewing, of swallowing. I remember at one moment we kind of spent 10, 15 minutes blinking. I wish we'd spent those 10, 15 minutes doing another couple takes. but we literally recorded the blinking. If you remember that scene, it was like, yeah, I can hear it. And so Nicolas is just the most incredible artist and genius in terms of how he's created that soundscape.
We have to shout out one of your co-stars, Lauren Ridloff, who is hearing impaired and a phenomenal actress. And you guys are in this very intimate film together, but then you have these other projects in your lives, where you're doing things like Venom and Star Wars, and she's about to be in The Eternals, which everyone's very excited about. Have you had conversations with her about doing all these different kinds of projects, and is she excited about what she's up to?
I haven't. I just dropped her a message to say, you know, how pleased I was for her and how excited I was for her. She's just the most incredible soul. She has this kind of centered kind of energy, doesn't she? She's just a magnetic person to be around, and she was so generous with how she kind of, you know, taught me and Darius so much about that experience and that community that we're trying to kind of faithfully portray in the film. And she really, along with Jeremy and you know, other members of our cast, really kind of took the lead on that and grounding the film in that sense of authenticity. But she's just an incredible actress, and I just think she's going to do amazing things, and I can't wait for the world to see what she has to offer.
It was amazing. She was a teacher for 10 years, actually, and she plays a teacher in the movie. So she has this incredible presence with children, and she's just so legit. She's really special.
She's great.
She felt very at home around us. Yeah, just putting us in a place, teaching us like children.
All right.